Russia has been calling up just about every other NATO country and saying that Ukraine is about to use a dirty bomb attack on its own territory. We're going to break down this preposterous claim. I am Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It is October 24th, 2022. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, so first and foremost, we can see that Ukrainian forces are continuing to go on a limited offensive in the north, sort of trading tit for tat a little bit in terms of territory. No major changes. You can see here's Russians being assessed as having control of Novosibirsk, but you can also see when we zoom out, right, this is Ukrainian forces pushing Russians back from Nevsky. So this is really just sort of tit for tat type of fighting. You can see here Russians are showing as having moved a bit closer to Spirne. This is, again, at least showing that these parts of the line of contact are what we might call competitive, right? Small gains by the Wagner group near Bakhmut, et cetera, et cetera. No major changes even at the village level. Of course, the operational blackout, at least this map, is respecting, and so there's no official claimed territory lost by Russia, even though there's considerable reports that Russian forces are beginning to prepare or set conditions for an orderly withdrawal from Kherson. It's also possible that there actually aren't territorial losses, that Russia is maintaining its line of contact even as it sort of drains its backfield of all non-essential personnel. This again, you have to understand, moving this much material and equipment is a process that takes weeks, if not months. So you may see Russia try to hold the line of contact for a long time. Now, let's talk about the big news, right? So big that Institute for the Study of War yesterday afternoon dropped a quick summary that the Russian Defense Minister Shoigu has called and made several calls with Western counterparts to assert, among other things, the preposterous claim that Ukraine is preparing a false flag dirty bomb attack against Russia. They think this may be to pressure Ukraine into concessions and intimidate NATO. Of course, on the battlefield, like we just saw, Ukrainian forces are enjoying considerable success. They've seized large chunks of territory and are basically going to be preparing to occupy or liberate the area surrounding Kherson, right? Liberate it from Russian occupation. So why would Shoigu make this call? Well, he's not stupid. The thinking is that the ISW asserts that it's to slow or suspend Western military aid to Ukraine, possibly try to find some cracks in the NATO alliance with some scaremongering calls. What's interesting is that he actually made different claims in different calls to different countries, right? He called Turkey, France, the UK, and US all yesterday. Right, he claimed to the Russia state media is repeating his ridiculous claim. Okay, Shoigu just said there is a steady tendency towards further uncontrolled escalation in Ukraine in his call with France, discussed in general terms the situation in Ukraine, and made false claims about the dirty bomb when he called the UK, France. Brandon used to on his calls with the UK, France, and Turkey, but he actually didn't say anything about a dirty bomb to U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. And I think that's probably, among other things, because the U.S. has just a much more massive intelligence apparatus. And he probably believed that Austin would know right away that this was a false claim. And so he simply elected not to make it. Instead, probably he's trying to triangulate some differences among the four. Of course, the U.S. is going to share its intel like this and its reasons for believing this with all of these countries, right? In contrast, Russia offered no evidence that this was actually the case, right? Usually if you're going to make a crazy claim, you're going to provide a leaked call audio or emails or a tactical map or something to indicate that this is occurring. They point out that the Kremlin, and it's true, has repeatedly claimed that Western states will help Ukraine conduct a false flag WMD attack. and that it was provocation so that they could accuse the Russian forces of using NBC weapons. Now, here is sort of the problem that we need to talk about, is that, Russia has actually a pretty considerable incentive to use a dirty nuclear bomb, right? One of the things that defines it, it's a radiological weapon. Don't think of it as a nuclear weapon. Think it's a conventional explosive with radioactive material sort of around it, and then when it goes off, it covers not a huge area, but a large enough area with radioactive contaminant, meaning that people really shouldn't pass through there. So what sort of places, if I were Russia and they were like, yes, you can use a dirty bomb, where would you do it, right? Well, number one, I would do it as my forces were withdrawing from the dam here, since as we've discussed, this is going to be a vulnerable choke point for the Russian withdrawal. All right, possibly because this is already mined, right? And that Ukrainian forces, it's already kind of got a dead man switch, right? Like Russia can blow it if Ukraine tries to cross the dam, or it will explode if Ukraine even starts shelling a little too close to the dam. It just takes one errant shell to set it off. But there's no such safety mechanism here at the Antonovsky Bridge, or the pontoon bridge, where they're conducting their second part of their withdrawal. And so it's possible they may actually use a dirty bomb. There is an incentive, rather. I don't have special intelligence. There's an incentive for them to use an area denial weapon, right? Area denial just means that you're denying enemy use of a certain area. So you would probably do it like right here, right? This would prevent Ukrainian forces from engaging in a pursuit because they would be unable to use a pretty significant network of roadways. You see here that it would be very easy if you were to contaminate this region, that now trucks, when they pass by it, would have to go through decontamination procedures, or they'd have to find an alternate route. And it's basically the only major route to the Antonovsky Bridge, right? You would get here, and then Ukrainian forces would be able to pursue Russia across the bridge. And so Ukraine obviously has no incentive to use a dirty bomb. One, it's their own territory. Two, right, you would never want to irradiate your own territory. But two, Ukraine's winning, right? And it's winning because, in large part, of the support of its NATO allies. So why would they do something that would jeopardize their relationship with their NATO allies for no tangible gain, right? They've already liberated huge chunks of Kharkiv. They are preparing to re-liberate Kherson as the Russian forces withdraw. They've already liberated a large portion here in the northeast. There's just no incentive at all for Russia to for Ukraine, to actually use this sort of weapon system. So again, I would say that there is a small but not that small risk of Russia using a dirty bomb itself, but I would also assess that there is probably almost no chance, or no real chance, that Ukraine is going to attempt to do so. Anyway, guys, that is all I had for today's update. I know all I had, right? Nuclear threats and dirty bombs, and yeah, it's a lot of news. Anyway, if you want to see the combat video breakdowns, the kind that are too intense for YouTube to show me, that YouTube's been cracking down quite a bit on my channel, you want to become a member of the Patreon. Link is in the description. Thanks to my Lieutenant tier patrons. I'll see you guys in the next one.